very young, the first thing I've ever heard the Lord tell me was, you're not gonna work for anybody else. Let me be clear. I did not move for anyone else but God. I'm very quick to correct people when they say, oh, you wanna do your own thing. No, I'm doing what God called me to do. When I first heard digital marketing, I was disgusted. I was like, Lord, I don't wanna do this. My story is completely separate from my marriage. Everything that I went through, what I'm about to tell you, is not because of him. This is because I chose to obey God, and this is what God had laid before me. Deep in healing, deep in deliverance, deep in sanctification. And I mean, he was drilling the sin out of me. This is a long testimony. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jada Christine. If you've come here from any of my other platforms, welcome. I'm on TikTok. I've been on YouTube. I made a new separate channel for all my videos moving forward. I'm on Instagram. Hey again, hey girl, hey boy, whoever you are. If you're new here and this is your first time seeing me, my name is Jada. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a minister, I'm an author, and I just love the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm a daughter of God, and I have a story to share with you all today. I'm gonna be honest and say, I don't know how to tell this story. I don't know where to start. Everything has been moving so fast in my life. And honestly, I can't believe that it's real. I can't believe that the traumatic experiences that I've had are real. The testimonies, the joys, and the highs that I've experienced are real. And this is a very real story, and it's important for me to be transparent. It's important for me to be very real because we're humans going through very real problems, and I don't ever want to give off this illusion that I have it all together. I want my platform to really show the glory of the Lord Jesus Christ in my life. I wanted to show the messiness and the ugliness of what he really did in my life and how he has restored me and how he has moved in me, because that is what my heart is for. People are going through real life, hard things every single day and do not know how to get out of them. And my story is a story of restoration. It's a story of sanctification, of growth, of healing, and of deliverance, and it's ugly. It's not beautiful, it's not pretty. If it can help one person, if it can give hope, if it can light a fire in one person's life, then I would be satisfied. I'm not here for likes or for numbers. I'm here because my prayer to God was, Lord, please allow me to serve you full time. And this is how this is where it starts, y'all. Because I have to take you back a little bit. If you want to know my story of how I came to Christ, you can go to my ministry's channel, The Journey. Let me just give you a little preface. If you want to find me, do your research before you get off in my little goodies in my story. You can go to my Instagram, which is I am Jada Christine. My TikTok is also I am Jada Christine. If you would like to visit my ministry's page, it is the.journey. You can go to thejourney.com, THEJRNE.com. If you would like to learn more about my journey as an entrepreneur, you can go to thejuicemarket.agency. But I'm going to get into all those things in this video. I am a shy girl from Riverside, California. I grew up in the suburbs. And my prayer since I was a little girl was very simple. You know, I said, Lord, I want to be married. I want children. I want my money to be good. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to have a lot, but I just want to be able to have what I need and some wants. And as time goes on, the Lord begins to shape my desires into something else. Now, marriage has always been at the beginning of that. It's always been very important to me. I saw marriage in my parents' marriage, and my grandparents' marriage. And that's what I wanted for myself, because I understood that family was the core and the foundation of everything. It was so important to me. And so as I grew older, after I gave my life to Christ, I started praying, Lord, I want to serve you full time. To me, this looks like you've called me into ministry. I know that for a fact. I want to serve you full time in ministry. I want to have the capacity to show up for my family and just be able to hang out with them, because I was in school at the time, I was also working. And I always felt like I couldn't, just talk on the phone or just be there. And I wanted to be present. I wanted to live my life. My prayer was that I would be married. My prayer was that I would work, I would earn money however he desired me to. I didn't see myself working a 9 to 5. I have the prayer on my prayer board right now. I said, God, I want to work for you. Whatever that looks like. If you want me to be a braider, because I've been braiding my whole life. If you want me to do this, I'll do it. I just want to work for you full time. This story starts there. Now, if you can learn more about how I come to Christ on my channel, The Journey. After I come to Christ, a few years come in, I start feeling suffocated. I start feeling like, dang, I don't feel like I can live in my purpose, but also I didn't really know how to get there. And so I started just mapping out what I believed that my life would look like. This is what I see. This is what the Lord has given me visions of. And so first and foremost, it looked like my only way to walk in purpose was through marriage, because I had this idea that, okay, my husband will understand me. He will understand what I'm called to, and he will create the environment for me to prosper in that way. At home, I didn't feel like I could do that. I didn't feel like my parents understood. I didn't feel like they could pave that path for me. They hadn't created it. They hadn't lived in that way. And so I knew that I needed someone who would help me. But also, what I didn't know was that I didn't need that. And we're gonna get into that. But I didn't feel like people really understood who Jada was, what Jada wanted out of life. I didn't feel like people really knew how to help me get there. It sounded silly, it sounded crazy. I'm a young girl talking about, I just want to preach for Jesus. That's all I want to do. And just nobody knew what to do with that. So I go through a lot of back and forth with my family for some time, with my parents, about what my life plan looks like. Because I went to college during COVID, 2020, and graduated high school, and I went to my first year of college. It was the year that I started wilding out, but it was also the year I found Jesus and fell in love with him. My second year of college, I started feeling like I was becoming a better version of myself. Like I just felt like I had everything together, but I started feeling very out of alignment. I started feeling like I didn't have the right people around me. I felt like I was in this environment that didn't match who I was on the inside, because I had been renewed and born again as a Christian. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't party anymore. And that's all that was around me. I went to a party school. I didn't really know where to go, where to find refuge. And so I created a space. And this was the space the Lord had put on my heart since I was a kid. I will go into the more detail about that another day. But this is very important. I started my ministry, The Journey, in the second year of college. This is where I really just wanted to help young believers who are trying to walk on the narrow path find refuge. Like, I need someone who relates. I need someone who understands what I'm going through, trying to zealously live for God with wisdom, with understanding, with fear and trembling, without being compromised, without being in these spaces that force me to be compromised, that cause so much temptation. I want to be understood, and that is where the journey has come from. That is where the journey comes from. Our mission is to nurture, restore. It's to restore, nurture, and equip believers. It started as videos, and then it turned into a podcast. So I do that for some years. I'm braiding hair, as I've done since I was a little kid, and that was just my thing. But I'm also in school and I'm failing classes because I'm braiding all day. And so my parents are like, this is the problem. We're spending thousands of dollars in tuition, student loans, they're racking up. We need to figure this out. I wanted to go to Bible college. They were like, nah. I was going through it. And this is important. All of these, I know we're probably like, get to the point. These are all very important things to mention, okay? I end up playing this game back and forth for a long time. And the whole time I'm thinking, God, if I just got married, I always wanted to get married young. It's like, God, if I just got married, I know that I'll be able to live out my purpose. That's where I went wrong the first time. I thought that I needed a man. I just needed Jesus Christ. If you're a young woman watching this, you don't need any man to help you get to where you need to go. Now, I truly wholeheartedly believe that if God has called you to marriage, there is a certain ceiling that you will hit in your purpose that you cannot move beyond until you come into covenant with your husband or your wife. That's just what I believe, because when man and woman come together, they produce seed, they plant seed, and they produce babies. Those can be physical babies, those can be spiritual babies, those can be ideas, and those can be purposes and plans. And that's included in my story. We're gonna get there. So I end up in school, back at square one after going home for a semester, and I meet a man. And he lived across the country, and he amazed me the first moment that I met him, and I fell in love with him. We fell in love really quickly, and we got married very quickly, and it ended very quickly. And it was one of those things where we both kind of had this zealousness of wanting to kind of like walk in purpose. I'll just speak for myself. I felt like I needed someone to give me the reason, like speak to me and tell me, give me the reason to just do the things that I've been waiting to do. I had a book that I hadn't released yet. I was in college and I wanted to drop out. I wanted to just do what I'm braiding and making videos full time, which is what I do now full time. And I felt like I needed someone's permission. And so we got married very quickly. I moved across the country with him very quickly. And we were out of alignment, extremely out of alignment with the Lord. We made mistakes very early on that cost everything. And this is when it gets a little heavier because your obedience to Christ is really important. I've always been the little girl who was kind of moving too fast. Not like I was promiscuous, please don't take it the wrong way, but I've always had this like zeal to live, to have life. And I felt like that I could have that with him, and I did to a certain extent. And so we moved, and I was feeling free for some time. Like, oh, you know, I can really do this. Now, did I get warnings that we were moving too fast? Yes. Did I really feel strongly in my spirit that I was supposed to be in that with that person? Absolutely. That's a story for another time. I don't want to focus too much on my marriage in this testimony. I want to really focus on just the general picture of restoration for me. So I should mention, when I was in school before I met this man, I was living my best life. And this was kind of like one of those answered prayers. The only thing I didn't like was that I was in school. I was in college. I didn't want to be in college. I was making good money braiding. I was making my videos for my podcast. It was good. And I felt like I had some freedom to a certain extent, but I was also under a lot of demonic oppression. And I didn't really know how to get free from it. There was nightmares. There was like this feeling of overwhelm. I was ministering, facing intense spiritual warfare because I hadn't been fully delivered. And it wasn't like I was in sin still. I'm talking about demonic strongholds, okay? I needed deliverance. I needed my bloodline to be cleaned. I needed all these things. And if we want to go real deep in the spirit, you can go catch me on the journey. We're going to get there in season 3, which is coming up soon. I just do my best to follow the Lord. And that's all he wants for us to do. Please do not wait for life to be perfect before you start anything. You know, God does not use perfect people. We are continuously being sanctified, continuously being saved over and over again, restored over and over again. Do not wait to start. If he's put it on your heart to do something, don't say, oh no, I need to be a little bit more saved. I need to be a little bit more holy. There is certain things to that. Please obey God. Okay, don't be just rushing out into nothing. But if the Lord is calling you to do something and you feel like, oh, I'm not qualified, just go ahead and do it. Because girl, boy, whoever's watching this, I felt unqualified before I turned this camera on. And I think I felt that way ever since I started everything. So we did this together, okay? I think the thing that really urged me to get married was I felt seen for the first time. I've played small a lot my whole life. I've always like diminished myself around people, and I'm still working through that. I've always downplayed like everything about me. And I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but identity is important. It's important for you to know who you are and what you're called to do. And if I'm in this continuous state of, oh, you know, I do this, but not really, or I play with this, but it's just a hobby, then that's not true authority and it's not true identity. There's a lot of confusion there. People doubt you, you doubt yourself. And when I met this man, he saw those things in me, and he like cultivated them in a way that no one ever has before. And so I felt safe with him because my purpose felt like it was in great care. So we moved to the East Coast. That's where he was living at the time. But before I moved, there was somewhat of a picture of what I like envisioned my life to be. You know, it felt like there was room to build there. I don't think it was God's will for me to stay there in California. I thought at the time, oh, this may be where I'm supposed to be, but nah, it wasn't. I see him now, but I was somewhat walking in my purpose, and I felt like this is a good place to be. So I left that. It was not the perfect, wedding. It was not the perfect, we didn't have the perfect marriage story, it wasn't like that. I never imagined my life to be that way. And so this perfect image I had envisioned in my life, you know, get married, walk in purpose, and serve God full time, that was kind of like looking a little blurry. I was like, wait a minute, where'd I go wrong? So if I can advise anyone about anything, do not be afraid to let go of something because you're not sure if it's going to come back to you. If I would have been patient, I would not have had to go through what I went through. I felt like for the first time, I had the vision in my hand and I did not want to let go. I had my hands gripped onto it like, no, it's time. I'm going into purpose. I'm going into everything. Don't take it away from me. And I had the signs not to move forward, but I moved forward anyways. But God is good. He's a restoring God. If you look through any books in the Bible, you see a picture of restoration. People in sin being consistently delivered and sanctified and restored by God, as long as they are willing to submit. And even though I rebelled, I was still at the Lord's feet like, Lord, redeem me. So some time goes past. I'm not going to talk too much about my relationship right now. We were married. It was happening. I was enjoying being a wife. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I loved, having the space to create. We were both creative people. And so not even just creating for myself, but together and for him. There were some ugly moments and our relationship got really toxic on both parts. And I think what happened is we were both two incomplete people. I had not fully stepped into my identity as a woman of God yet. I had not fully stepped into fully understanding who God created me to be. And that limited my ability to show up as a wife, to show up as even just a minister. Any identity God has called me to be, I was incomplete. I just wasn't fully prepared. But I will tell you, God causes all things to work together for our good. And he used the crap out of my marriage to sanctify me and grow me up. Because what I learned in my marriage was priceless. It was truly priceless. Not just because of who I was with, but just the experience. I love that man with all my heart, and I always will love him with the love of God. I pray for him, and I have so much respect and honor for him, no matter what. And we went through a lot together. Oh, Jesus. Before I even get into how God restored me, I have to tell you how incomplete I was, because I was so shy. I did not know how to step into my gifts. I did not know how to step into my calling. I did not know how to step into my identity. I did not know the first thing when it came to it. And in my marriage, I learned these things from my ex-husband. He spoke life into purposes and plans every single day. He saw me in a way nobody has ever seen me. He saw the future me. He saw who I was becoming, and he did his absolute best to cultivate me into that person. Not in the perfect ways, because it was actually, it was not the best ways, actually. Like I said, things were really toxic. And so we both had ways of going about things with well intentions, doing it the most wrongest way possible. There's a boldness, there's a courage that I carry from my marriage that I don't know where it would have came from had I not been in that relationship, had I not married him, had I not been so close to him for that year. That gave me the courage to be where I am now. There will be a day in the future where I talk more about my relationship, but for now I'm talking about how God restored Jada, because Jada was incomplete when she walked into that marriage, and she was broken when she left the marriage. There was more work added on to what was already broken. And so when I left the marriage, I didn't want to leave. We had gone through trials over and over again, and I stood for my marriage because I do not believe in divorce. I do not believe in giving up on your marriage. I came into that marriage fully committed to what we had set before us. I came into it very confident and assuring God that that was where he was leading me, and I did not want to give up. I did not want to give up. But I'm going to tell you now that I was doing it in the most wrongest ways possible. It was coming from a broken place, and it was not coming from a place of authority. I tried standing, I tried praying, I tried interceding for our relationship, and I was doing it in the most toxic ways. And so at some point, God got me to a point where we were both just fed up. He allowed me to stay there. He allowed me to rest with it as long as I wanted to. But at some point, I was like, okay, this isn't working. Whether you're fighting for this or not, I think I need to walk away. And so I walked away very gracefully, and I knew that I'm sorry. Let me be clear when I say gracefully. God graced me to walk away. Did I walk away gracefully? No. I raised hell, and I am not proud of how I acted in that relationship or after it. I'm not perfect. I acted in ways that a woman of God should not act. I spoke in ways that a woman of God should not act. I tore down my home with my own hands and with my own words. I tore down him with my words and my hands. Like, it was not pretty. He did not reciprocate in those ways. I can just say, why am I painting this picture? Because I want you to know that no matter how messy your life is, God can restore you. He can restore everything about you, everything in your world and your environment and your ecosystem, your relationships, your home, your heart, your soul, your body, everything. And so when I tell you, in that relationship, I kind of lost my identity for a while. I wasn't making videos, I wasn't walking on purpose. I kind of forgot about everything. You know, when I said, God, if you just give me my husband, I'll have all the time to work on my videos, all the time to this. I didn't do it. I didn't commit to what I promised the Lord. God had to hold me accountable for that. And so now I'm going to talk about, you know, what God has done with me since. So what I mean by gracefully left is, before this moment, I would not let go of that relationship. I would not let it go. And it was coming from a broken place. At this point in time, I really feel like the Lord just gave me grace. He just gave it to me freely, because after one night, I just woke up and I had made the decision I'm moving forward, you know? And I didn't cry. I didn't kick and scream anymore. I was really laser focused on just getting my life back together. During that time, we kind of both had plans to move to the DMV area. And I was like, well, I can't go there anymore. So I guess I'm just gonna go home. And I go home and I'm praying and I'm like, God, what do you want me to do with my life? I'm looking for jobs in different places, in different cities. And my heart was always still longing to be in the DMV area. I was like, I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. I just had this feeling, I had this inkling. I hid where we were living at the time together. And so I was like, I was really looking forward to my new beginning in the DMV area. I just had it perfectly pictured out. Looked at apartments and everything. And so I go home for some time and I'm just with my family. At this point, I had been delayed in purpose for so long. I had allowed people to tell me what to do, tell me where to go, how to do it for so long that I really was like super fed up. And I did not want to live my life in a way where I had regrets, in a way where I didn't really go after what I wanted. And like I said, I left that relationship with so much boldness and courage, because what my ex carried just rubbed off on me. And he had a boldness and a courage that I really was inspired by and looked up to. Whether it was family members who were just like, we don't understand what your goals are or how you're gonna get there, or whether it was my ex who, you know, our relationship was just draining, I was like, I cannot let anything or anyone prevent me from moving forward anymore. And so I was like, I really just have to tune everything out right now. So I went home for a few months, and I had made my plans known to my parents, like, I'm moving, I'm not gonna stay here. And once I had realized, I was like, I'm not gonna stay here, I made it clear. And I knew they weren't having it. And so once I mentioned where I wanted to move to, they were like, oh, you're trying to move for him, you're trying to move for him. Let me be clear. I did not move for anyone else but God. Everything that I do, everything that I am is in submission to God. I am not putting anyone, whether they are a man, whether it's my family, whether it's me, I'm not putting anyone before God. My plan was, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna just go get a regular job. I'm just gonna make my videos and get an apartment at home, close to home. And God has always been the one who's dreaming bigger than I am. He whispers to me like, no, we're still going. We are still going. From that point on, I was like, okay, well, I need to find some money. Before moving, I had my business is booming. After I moved with my ex-husband, he was mainly supporting us, so I didn't have a lot of income at that point. I really felt dogged out, not gonna lie. I felt like I had sacrificed everything and I left with nothing. I just had nothing. I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a degree, I don't have anything. God, where do we go from here? I'm beginning to look for jobs. And the first thing I heard the Lord say when I'm on my flight home is take 7 days and do absolutely nothing. And I was like, is that really God or is that me? You know how we do that. I have to also be clear and say, there was a moment when me and God had a conversation. And he tells me something very specifically. I have to be honest and say that most of the things he was instructing me to do were things that my ex-husband was always telling me, like, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And I just was not there yet. I'm telling you, if the fruit ain't ripe, it's just not gonna happen. And I was not a ripe wife. I just wasn't. I did my absolute best, but I wasn't ripe yet. I'm not gonna mention everything, but he gave me very strict instructions. He told me, look, I'm serious about your purpose. I'm serious about where I'm taking you. You're gonna have to stay at my feet. What those instructions were was to be on time, stop being late, set your alarms to stay on schedule, set up some workout plan, be strict about your budget, create a schedule, commit to a day of rest, and create more than you consume. Stop scrolling so much. And he's basically like, I will bless you. And he kind of gave me a job offer in that way. I had been looking for jobs for a long time at that point. And honestly, this is getting a little hazy because it's been a year now. But that was his job offer to me. You're gonna work for me full time now, Jada. It's happening, it's gonna happen. But you're gonna have to, this is what you're gonna be required to do. So while I'm at home, I don't take those 7 days to rest. I spin my wheels trying to figure out what to get into. So I look into UX design and I try to get a job in UX design, take a whole course. It does not work out. I do interviews for other various jobs like FedEx and a preschool teacher. None of them work out. I'm getting ghosted, 300 jobs at this point. Nobody's really accepting my application. So at some point I'm like changing my, portfolio. Like, okay, maybe not UX design. What happened was after I hit that wall, I heard the Lord say again, take 7 days to rest. So I took 7 days to rest. I did not do anything for those 7 days. I just hung out with my family. After those 7 days, the Lord tells me to go into a 3-day fast. So I go into a 3-day fast. On the first day of that fast, I wake up and he tells me, you're gonna watch a TV show during this fast. And I'm like, a TV show. And I also hear the phrase digital marketing. And I'm like, okay. Now, the Lord has spoken to me. The Lord speaks to me in various different ways. And one of those ways happens to be through media. Like if I'm watching a TV show or movie, sometimes he'll speak to me through the characters. And so I knew that he was going to be showing me something through a TV show. Like maybe it was going to be a woman in a new city with a new job, because that's what I was looking for at the time. And so I opened Netflix and the first thing I see is Emily in Paris. And I was like, okay, I see where this is going. So I go to Emily in Paris, not having a clue what it's about because I hadn't watched it before, but I completely forgot. So I watched it and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a girl moving to a new state. She just got a relationship and she's living her best life as an influencer and she's working in social media marketing in a marketing firm. Like, what? God, this is in the sunlight, I don't know what it is. So I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. So I start looking for jobs in marketing, in digital marketing. No one is hiring me. No one is hiring me. I don't have experience in marketing. I don't have a degree in marketing. All I have is my social media portfolio. And so I realized that's not working either. And so at some point I left my parents' house and I went to stay with my sister in Arizona to help her with her kids. And I kind of figured I would leave at some point from Arizona to the DMV area. I was like, I think I'll be able to move from here to there because I'm gonna have some problems if I try to move straight from my mama's house to there because they gonna be like trying to stop me. So I'm at my sister's house and the more I'm praying to God for instruction, the more I'm kind of hearing him just saying, just go, just go, just go, just go. Again, let me be clear. I only went for the Lord. I only went in obedience to God, because at this point, even though I was hanging on to my relationship before, I had become so surrendered in that area. I was like, okay, look, I just gave it to you. I gave my relationship to you. I gave my marriage to you. If it don't happen, it don't happen. Whatever, I'm walking away. And so I'm with my sister for some time. Me and my parents are getting into it a lot at this point, about money, about my life, just like everything. And so it was really, really hard to start over. And I felt like I had fell on my face. I felt really ashamed, kind of regretful. And not for the ways you would think, honestly. It was for different reasons, I'll just say. But I was really just asking God, okay, what's next? So my initial move with my ex-husband, that was kind of a faith move for me as well. We gathered the money really last minute. I was braiding like all day, every day, just stacking the money, and then we made the move. This time it was like, I have no resources, I have no clients, I don't know how I'm gonna make this move. And so I was like, I've seen you provide before, Lord, I know you're gonna do it again. Now, there's a few things that the Lord told me about this move. One, he said, this is a Joshua move, that you're going to encounter many battles and trials, but I will be with you and you will conquer them all. I had a few dreams that were notable. I had a dream of 6 buckets driving on the freeway to Virginia. What this dream represented was 6 talents, 6 areas of work, 6 symbolic things the Lord had wanted me to labor in. And so I also had a dream where I had several dreams where I was like kind of fighting with family about my decisions, about my marriage, about my businesses, about just moving in general, where they were like, no, you shouldn't go. And I was just packing up and leaving anyways. And I had one dream that kind of gave me some insight of what I should do next, where I basically just moved and I didn't have any money, didn't have anything. And I got a job at a salon and I was sleeping in hotels. That's what the dream was. And so at some point, I kind of was still applying to jobs in digital marketing, but I felt the Lord's whisper, turn your portfolio into a website and just start taking clients. And so I was working with my aunt, she was my first client for a while, and I set up a portfolio. I set up a website, I set up my Instagram. I think it's also important to note that the Juice Market, my ex-husband came up with that name. That was a seed that was planted in me in our relationship. And I cultivated out of the relationship, but it was a photography page at first, and he came up with the name, I came up with everything else after that. You know, I just was taking pictures on Instagram and posting it to this page called The Juice Market. I didn't know what it was gonna be. And so after I, switched my portfolio into this page, I went, okay, I'm gonna call it The Juice Market. And so I now kind of had a direction. I was like, when I was very young, I couldn't tell you how old I was, but the first thing I've ever heard the Lord tell me was, you're not gonna work for anybody else. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I don't even remember how old I was, but I know that I was young. And that was the first time I recognized hearing the voice of God. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you how or why I just had this knowing I wasn't gonna work for anybody. But it was a confirmation. Every rejection from a job was a confirmation. I was called to entrepreneurship. It's like, okay, I don't know how. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but sure, let's do it. So I just started this marketing agency, and it was born from this desire to help people walk in purpose. Because for me personally, when I started the journey and when I started braiding, I documented it on social media. And so it was all about, people had seen me grow, a nice little fall, not a heavy following, but a following from posting. And they were always asking me well, how did you do this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And so, now I'm able to do that and facilitate that through, better means. Like, okay, we're gonna really help you with your branding, your videos, whatever, all these things. And so I am angry. I have disdain for the way Satan paralyzes us in purpose. We don't move forward, we're stuck, we don't really know how to start. And so with the Juice Market, I created it under God's instruction. Because when I first heard digital marketing, I was disgusted. I was like, Lord, I don't want to do this. I am tired of even doing it for myself. I get tired of editing videos. I get tired of doing this, doing that. Please don't let me do it for nobody else. Please. But I'm so glad I said yes. I did not want to do that first. This is what I mean when I'm saying I am not living out my own will for my life. I'm not doing something because my ex-husband said this or because my parents said that. I'm not doing anything I am doing because of somebody else. It is only because of God. It's not even my own will. And so I'm very quick to correct people when they say, oh, you want to do your own thing. No, I'm doing what God called me to do. If I was doing my own thing, I would not be where I'm at today. It would be much, much, much less. It burdens me. Like, it burdens me to see people walk out of alignment with the Lord. You know, just miserable. And so, but they're carrying something they're not giving birth to yet. And that was me for years. And people do it much longer than me. I'm only 23. But they carry something without ever giving birth to it. And God establishes his kingdom on earth, when we partner with him and be vessels. Vessels create, vessels plant. Jeremiah 1:10, I have sent you to uproot, tear down, to build, and to plant. He has sent us into spaces to uproot, tear down, to build, and to plant, whether it's in media, entertainment, arts, government, education, family. He has sent us into these places to be lights of the world, and we kind of dim our lights. We make less of ourselves. We don't take up space. We don't speak loudly. We don't walk confidently. We disguise disobedience under humility, and we never move. We never establish God's kingdom on earth because we're in disobedience, we're delaying our purpose, and we're not moving. And so this agency was created to help people get their feet moving and get their hands moving and their mouths talking, because that is when things get created. And so it's not just branding or marketing or posting on social media. It's so much more than that to me. It's not, I don't see it as superficial at all, because everything I do on social media is about projecting the light of Christ. And it's very powerful. The only reason I was able to dream beyond the small vision I had as a little child, like of just, a simple life, whatever, was because I saw women and men, I saw women on social media walking in purpose, walking in power in ways that I hadn't seen. And so social media is a tool. It does not have to be like this superficial thing. It's not, there's something so powerful in seeing regular people live out dream lives. If they're not lying, we should discern it. There's lies everywhere. But to see that was so inspiring to me as a young woman. And I saw more. I saw that, I don't have to be a hoe. I can go be a wife. Because what does music tell us? And so, this is why it's so important for Christians to walk in purpose. Because people and kids are impressionable, and we need to be present and make ourselves visible. Because if not, then what other options are there? So that's why the agency began. I move, and I am just doing exactly what the dream said. I call this salon, and I get an unofficial job. I later realized this is a long testimony. I later realized this is not like the best job. It's kind of like a very unprofessional salon. I didn't know that at first, but I'm there for a few months, and I was sleeping in Airbnbs. I booked the Airbnb with the little amount of money I had. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have no money. I had credit, so I used credit to book an Airbnb. And I moved there on October 7th, and I just went to the salon the first day, and I started working. Did I have a lot of clients? Absolutely not. She kind of bamboozled me a little bit, said they had a lot of traffic, did not have a lot of traffic. So I was not getting a lot of income. But I was building. I was using all the time. I was in the salon all day, doing nothing, just building the juice market. And so I had questions for God. I was looking at apartments. I was like, Lord, the disconnect, there's a disconnect, there's a disconnect. I'm seeing testimonies on YouTube, people getting miraculous apartments. Where's mine? When is mine? So I kind of go on for this really long time just thinking God's going to do a miracle, and he's not doing it. And so I really quickly realized that he's had me build this brick by brick. And I really, really, really want to make it clear. My story is completely separate from my marriage. Everything that I went through, what I'm about to tell you, is not because of him. This is because I chose to obey God, and this is what God had laid before me. Anything that I went through that was harsh could be due to my own disobedience, or it could be because God just wanted me to go through it to prove me through it. I had option to go home. I didn't choose to go home. I stayed where I was. Yes, I really do wish that my ex stuck it out with me, but life doesn't happen the ways that we want it to happen sometimes. On October 13th, a few days after I had moved, which was my birthday, I go to this church. They give me more money. It helped me, and my pastor took me out to dinner for my birthday. They have been my family since I moved here, and it was very out of my comfort zone. I had never been to an African church. My church It's just, it's different, it's Pentecostal, but I love it down. Very, very small, but very, very mighty and powerful, and it has helped me. I knew I was where I was supposed to be. I was not getting substantial income from the salon I was working at, and I wasn't getting income from my agency just yet. And so I was carrying this burden of like moving around from hotels to hotel to Airbnb, and at some point in my car in the snow, just like really thugging it out. And I didn't feel like myself. All my clothes were in storage. I kind of was just wearing the same sweats every single week. I did not feel confident, but the Lord was like cultivating a confidence in me during this time that did not come from my outward appearance. Not that I really put it in that before, but I was really insecure, and the Lord like really strengthened me in my confidence in this time. And so this time was not just about building a business. It was not just about, walking in purpose, but God was really restoring me. He was restoring me as an individual so that I could have the capacity to be a wife, so that I could have the capacity to walk in purpose, because I did not have it before. And if that's where I wanted to go, He had to work on me. And so He kind of like, it was like I was really just walking with the Lord, like full-blown Israelite in the wilderness. I mean, I was trusting God for manna every day. I did not know where the money was going to come from to eat or to extend my stays at the various Airbnbs and hotels. I did not know what I was doing. And I was like telling God, I'm just a girl, and He was like, I'm your father. And He provided for me every single day. And there are some days where I was blatantly disobedient, and I faced some heavy consequences for that. I had no idea that it was going to take as long as it was going to take me, and I had no idea the depth of this move. Because again, this is a picture of restoration. It's not just about moving or getting an apartment or, starting a business. God was restoring me, and He was allowing me to become the woman who could live out the dream I had always prayed for. I want to serve God full time. I want to be a wife. I want to start a family. This is what I want out of my life. God, please take me there. And so what He had begun to do with me when I got here, I did not expect it. A few months in, He starts revealing things to me, speaking things to me about everything in my life, my relationships, my purpose, my past. And I had come to realize that I was broken, not because my ex, just because of that, but there was a lot of there was some childhood trauma that had kind of just denied or neglected, did not really acknowledge, because I was fairly like safe and very well taken care of. But we cannot diminish those little things on the inside that cause us to act the ways that we act. And I knew that the way I was acting in my marriage was not righteous, it was not godly, it was toxic. And that came from something that did not just come from my ex. There was something in Jada that happened when she was a kid. There was a few encounters that made me into the emotionally unstable woman that I was in my marriage, that made me into the insecure person that I was in my marriage, that made me into the passive person, whatever I was. And so God had really began to deal with me deep in healing, deep in deliverance, deep in sanctification. And I mean, He was drilling the sin out of me. I had tuned out everything secular because I was really like, I have to hear the voice of God. If I don't hear the voice of God, I might not eat. And it became super important. And I believe God uses extreme circumstances when we delay ourselves too long. Excuse the audio and video change. My camera died. So we're on the iPhone now. But when you're going through really tumultuous situations, sometimes God puts you in a situation that is heavier than usual because He's trying to birth something out of you that you refuse to put your hands to, or that you have allowed people to hinder you from for so long. And so I believe He allowed me to go through what I went through because He wanted me to give birth to purpose, and He wanted me to do it on time. And if I did not get moving, I would have delayed myself very much more, and I would have been crying, begging to God, why is this still where I'm at? So I had to really, really trust God. And I mean, like, in a way I never had before. Like I said, He gave me manna every day, not just with provision, but I mean, the Lord was speaking to me in ways I had never heard Him speak to me before. He was ministering to me. He was developing me prophetically. He was teaching me how to interpret my dreams. I had gone through so much deliverance, and gone deeper just into the spiritual realm. And I had learned so much about God, just about who he is, and everything about my desire for life, purpose, ministry, marriage. It mattered. It started to mean so much more because I was beginning to learn more about his character and just learn more about who he is and about why he is. And I had to really surrender and submit. That was the most important thing. You know, a lot of times when God is preparing you for marriage, he's going to start, you need to learn how to submit. And that was the thing. I would often be trying to take on more than I should, learn to have more information than I should. And God is like, I just need you to submit to me. I just need you to surrender to me. And so I was giving him my submission and my surrenders, and I was wrestling with him back and forth all the time about those instructions that I told you guys about in the beginning. He was serious. He was like, you better eat right, you better cook, you better do this, you better do this, and you better wake up on time. And when I was not doing it, I felt so out of alignment. I felt so unclear. But when I was doing it, I felt so sharp and on point. Now, God really began giving me my dream clients with this business at some point. I was working with a Christian R&B singer who was a family friend. My mom got me my first client. Then I worked with Mr. Lionel Williams. He works at 2819 Church. I even got connected with more of their team for a while, but it just didn't work out. I met this amazing, mighty woman of God who is now my mentor, Miss Najina Lynn Thomas. I reached out to her led by the Holy Spirit. Like, I think I'm supposed to do your social media. I didn't say it like that. I was super professional, but I kept DMing her over and over. Like, when she wouldn't get back to me, kept emailing, and eventually we had come into connection. And she has been such a great, person in my life. And working with her, I have learned just so much by being in that environment. I have countless testimonies of how God just showed up miraculously in my braiding business, in my agency, and a lot of those are on TikTok. I don't want to make this video too long, but God has shown me favor with man that I just cannot explain. I eventually left that salon I was at. I started my own braiding business. And God just breathed on everything bigger and better. He gave me new ideas for the new season of the journey. And honestly, I don't have the capacity to carry everything that he showed me. I need help. And I already know who I need to ask to help. But over this course of this past year, I had begun to see God's hand of restoration. And that was really, really important to me. I wanted to, I had my priorities just a little bit out of alignment. I didn't even know I needed to be restored as an individual. I was so focused on, God, please restore my marriage for some time, that I was like forgetting that, how do I get back to me? I felt like I didn't really know who I was anymore. I had gotten so lost in the relationship. And I had, I found my footing at some point, but I slipped again. And so I'm so grateful to God that he doesn't listen to us, that he chooses to do his own thing, because if I had not followed God's guidance, I would have been losing my identity. Don't even get me wrong. I'm not slamming wifedom or marriage. Girl, I am a wife, whether I am married or not. I am a wife. You are a wife before you are married. I know I'm supposed to be a wife. And I don't care how girl boss I get. I was just talking about this with my mentor the other day. I don't care how girl bossy I get. She was saying the same thing. I don't care how girl bossy I get. I'm gonna bow down to my husband. I'm gonna submit, and I'm gonna do the same thing. So, as life is going on, God just starts restoring me. But when I tell you, I went through countless disappointments. I thought things were going to happen in certain times and just didn't. It started to feel like God had forgotten about me because I was sleeping in my car in the snow. I would be working all day from sunup to sundown, just trying to gather confidence to keep going when I wasn't seeing anything, when I couldn't stand to look in the mirror because I just was wearing the same clothes over and over again. I couldn't afford makeup. I couldn't find the time to do my hair. I was just waking up and pulling out my laptop, like just me and my MacBook, me and my iPhone, just editing videos, recording videos, editing videos, recording videos. And this is how God builds you. It might seem cyclical. God, I'm doing this over and over again, but nothing's changing. At some point, God is going to show you what you've been building all along, because it wasn't for nothing. And so I kept building. I kept building. And it was so much bigger than me, because when I tell you there's a picture of restoration that God has shown me in my life that I'm walking into in this season that includes so much more than just me, than just the business and just the relationship and just whatever. Everything that I'm about to share with my life from this moment forward is a picture of restoration. I am a picture of restoration and of redemption and of war, because I had to fight for it. When I said in the beginning that God said this was going to be a Joshua move, he really meant that. And so my battle showed up spiritually. I had begun to fight against the demons that were coming up against my life, oppressing me, traumatic strongholds. I really had to go deep in prayer, deep in fasting, deep in various different things like conversations, therapy, to just work through why I was so broken. I had to talk about things that I had pushed down. I had to talk about, I'm not even gonna force myself to share everything right now, but I had to talk about so many things and what I had to be delivered from. And there were so many layers. Now, without Jada being restored, who can I help? I cannot be a great minister. I cannot be a great wife. I cannot be anything if I am not restored. And so God really stripped me down. And he turned me around. And I'm so grateful that he did. But I do not like the way that he did it at all. I wish he did not. I really don't understand why he did it the way that he did. I honestly can't believe what I went through. Like, even when I try to think about it, and this is why God is so good, he will restore you so well that you kind of forget what happened to you. But I really felt cast away and rejected after my marriage. I really felt unsupported by everyone. It felt like nobody understood me entirely but God. And I just have to be so clear that everything that God has done, it was so calculated. It was so intentional. We might look at people's lives and say, oh, how did they get there? How did they get there? And honestly, I get a little frustrated because people often assume that I just have money, or that I just have things together, or that I just have this, that I'm lucky. But everything that I have paid for. Everything that I possess, I have paid for. God would not let me get a free pass. He made me fight and war and pray and intercede and really work and build brick by brick until it was complete, and it's not complete. And it will not be sustained if I don't keep fighting. Everything that I went through in this past season was the bare minimum of what is required of me now to keep going. And it's not for me. It's because I really care about the call. I don't see marriage as just this thing I see that serves me. I see marriage as the foundation of society, and building a family is really important to me. And I'm really young right now. People are going to dismiss me because I'm 23 years old and I talk about how I want to do this and this and that. They're going to say, chill, you're too young. I don't care. I know what God has called me to do, and I'm not playing small anymore. I'm not acting like I'm unequipped. People think I'm really naive. People think I'm really unprepared. People think I'm really this, or that. And I'm not going to act like God not whip my behind and really teach me and really grow me up. I'm not done. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I am, but I'm not going to let people diminish or minimize what he's done in me, because I've done that for way too long. And he's made it very clear to me who I am. Identity is very important. Business is not just business to me. It's a ministry to raise the dead, because how many of us have let purpose die? This business is not just business. It is a ministry of raising the dead, raising the dead ideas, raising the dead souls who are just miserable in the lives they live because they're not walking in purpose. And then my ministry, the journey, it's not just ministry. I don't care to just be seen. I don't care to just be this or that. I'd rather not be, actually. I'd rather not tell these stories. I'd rather keep it private and keep it to myself, but God. And it's for people, because I really care about restoring people to their identities through Christ, nurturing them on their walk so that they do not fall away, so that they endure to the end, and equipping them to go out and do the same thing. That's very important to me. I can, oh my goodness, the righteous indignation that has come out of me through this season. I feel like I was able to feel the heart of God in a way I've never have before about everything. And it's personal because I've gone through it, I've lived it. And so every soul matters. And I don't care what it looks like to people. God took me through a process that was very tumultuous. I mean, every day for a long time, I was like, the way I was going to work was, at first it was at the salon where I was dealing with some very unprofessional coworkers that made my job so much harder. And then I started my own business again as a braider where I traveled to my clients, which was exhausting. I drove 40 minutes back and forth every single day from all across the DMV area. I remember when I even left my job, my boss refused to pay me. That day, she said, you're gonna get your paycheck whenever it's due. And I had to sleep in my car that night again. And it was just like I was pinching pennies. And I was really hurt that like people really don't care, you know? But I didn't take it personal because I see souls. And I saw her soul. And I saw the souls of the people I was working with. I see souls. I see the soul of my ex-husband. I see the soul of everyone who's hurt me. It's hard for me to just stay angry. I will pray for you and you will get saved. Don't play. Oh my goodness. So I felt like I was carrying a lot and I could not be so honest with it about my family. I couldn't because they were gonna tell me to come home. And on the wrong day, I might have listened to them. So I had to really like be quiet about a lot of things because people were still seeing me as naive little Jada. Why is she out there? She out there for a little boy. She doing this and that for a little man. No, she's not. What is she gonna do with this little social media thing? We don't know. So understanding that I'm still perceived as little Jada, I said, okay, I kind of have to move in silence right now because people don't see who I'm becoming. And that's okay. It is okay. But I cannot expect people who don't see me to help me get to where I'm going. And so it was very, very hard. A lot of days I felt like I had no one to talk to. So after, I'm traveling to clients, I'm in and out of homes, people I don't know just by faith, and it was really uncomfortable, not just because of strangers, but there's just a lot of movement. And then some nights, I'm sleeping in the parking lot and then going to church the next day, getting dressed in my car, going to church the next day, eating breakfast at the gas station, getting dressed in the storage unit bathroom because I have to get clothes out of storage. Like I have stories and stories and stories and stories. I barely remember because God is so good that, it's just, God is amazing. Like I slept in the salon I worked at a couple nights, and it was in a nice neighborhood. I slept in my suite for a few nights at some point. I slept in an Airbnb for a long time, and God is so good because I found this Airbnb. It had to be Christian owned because she had verses plastered up everywhere, and she was just so kind. I would be booking one night at a time, like for months straight, and she was just like, go ahead. Like she was just super chill. And I wasn't the only person in that situation. Like there's a lot of people in their homes that were also doing the same thing. And I was like, it really put things into perspective for me, just about real world life issues. Everybody's going through something. There's just a lot of moving around. Everything just came with additional, additional heaviness. Like why is it so hard to take my big old suitcase and put it in I have to check out again because I cannot afford this night. Now I'm sleeping in the snow. Now my car won't start. Now my tires are flat again. I have to spend my entire paycheck on a new tire. These things happen. And I did not understand what was happening to me. At the tire shop, arguing with my dad on the phone, like, you don't understand me. Yeah. It's just so much chaos. And so it was like a bunch of little battles. Even when it came to my digital marketing agency, the clients that I worked with, amazing. I love them. But sometimes there were certain projects that just were so heavy. And I'm not complaining. Let me be clear, I'm not complaining. But I'm just saying that this came with a lot of hefty work. Nothing happened by accident. Everything was calculated. This has been the vision the entire time. I was not just frivolously out here doing whatever I wanted to do. No, Every move was calculated by God. And he showed me this is where you will be if you just listen to me. And I just feel like a lot of people might be surprised. Like when anyone does something for themselves, a lot of times what they went through gets diminished. You know, people just see what the outcome is. Nobody sees what was required of them. For the past year, just complete blind faith and obedience and surrender has been required of me. And it's come with so much heartbreak, so much tears. I mean, crying out to God. I mean, just tantrums of all kinds, and just being broken before the Lord and being obedient to God. Like, this was not no play, nothing. And that just cannot be disregarded. Like, if you're hearing this testimony, you just have to know that this came with the cost. It came with the cost, and it costed me so much. It costed me everything, almost every minute of my time. It's like just living surrender to God. Did I obey all the time? No, I delayed myself more times than I can count. That's the only thing I regret, is not trusting God. When I was walking in doubt, when I was faithless, is the only times when I was delaying myself and disobedient. Oh, I'm rebelling because I don't trust you anymore. That's when I faced more trials, and that's when I went through more things. I can say that now is finally the time for me to really step into this fully, and I'm not in a rush. I'm building brick by brick this life of mine, and I'm taking it however it comes towards me. I'm in this new apartment, I'm in this new place, I have room to expand. I actually need a lot of things in this place that I don't have yet. And so I'm doing what the word tells me to do. I have done a lot of uprooting and tearing down. Now it's time to build and to plant even more. I'm doing it with the fire of God. I'm doing it with passion. I'm doing it with faith, because this was built on faith. It says that faith is the substance of the Faith is, what does it say? Faith is the substance of what we hope for. I believe that's what it says. This would not exist without faith. God created the world with the word. And he gave me a word, and I said, okay, we're going to create my little world with that word. We're going to create Jada's ecosystem with that word. You're telling me something about my relationships. You're telling me something about my home. You're telling me something about my purpose and my ministry and its business. Okay, let's do it off a word with nothing else but a word. And so I'm going to keep speaking. I'm going to keep moving my hands. I'm going to keep moving my feet, and let's keep going. I could talk all day, as you can probably tell, but I can now say that God has restored me as an individual. He has restored my confidence. He has healed me from the trauma. He has just stitched up my heart in such a way where I have no animosity towards anyone. I don't have hate for anyone who has ever hurt me or has done anything to me. From my childhood to now, I have the love of God for all these people. And if you think I'm lying, it's because you're projecting. You don't think it's possible to have that kind of love. You don't think it's possible to forgive. I'm telling you, it's possible. God will grace you to forgive the people who have hurt you. God will grace you to walk free in that way. And real love exists. And because you're projecting, you don't believe it exists because nobody's ever showed it to you. I'm telling you that Jesus Christ is showing it to you right now. He's showing you that grace and that love, and we don't always recognize it. We don't always recognize it because of what we have gone through. But he's real. Stop looking at him through eyes of trauma and start looking at him as your father who loves you with compassion, and accept and receive his love. I'm at the point now where I have my braiding business, Braids by Jada. God has blessed me. I just got my fully booked month in the DMV area this November. I touch the heads of Black women every single day. We laugh, we talk about everything, and that's beautiful. I also have my digital marketing agency, The Juice Market, where I help people give birth to purpose and to build and to plant, to uproot and to tear down. A lot of my clients happen to be Christian. I also have my ministry, The Journey, my oldest baby, where I just spread the gospel, pure gospel, and real hard gospel, because this ain't no play. And I now have my home where all my babies can be, where we can grow, where we have room to expand, where we have room to establish ourselves. And I'm so ready for this new journey of mine. I did not think it was going to take this long, but here we are. If you're watching this and you are feeling called to entrepreneurship, but you just don't know where to start, I am opening Juice Market University, a university through my agency where I teach people how to walk into entrepreneurship. Now, I'm not going to teach you nothing I don't know, but I'm now at the place in my life where I make enough money to pay rent, to pay bills, to pay for groceries, and to do that comfortably. My first course is called Entry Level Entrepreneurship. At some point, we're going to do a course on scaling to 10K. Then we're going to do a course on building a team, because as I learn everything, I'm going to bring you guys along with me. But I'm not going to teach you about anything I have not experienced. But Jada has now experienced entry level entrepreneurship. And so what I'm going to do in this course is I'm going to teach you guys how to walk into entrepreneurship, do it right, without making the mistakes that I made, without having to go through what I went through. Hopefully you don't have to go through that. I don't know what God has planned for your life, but I believe he has brought me through this so that people do not have to go down the same road. The real testimony is, like, I have been waiting on my apartment for 365 days, over 365 days since I moved here. Like, God, when are you gonna put me in a place? When are you gonna put me in a place? And I finally have my apartment where I can build, where I can plant, where I can grow. And it's nice, in a nice neighborhood. I feel safe. I feel like I'm in my promised land. I feel like I have what I need, and I just have to go from here. You know, that's all I have for you guys today. If you want to see my apartment tour, you can find it on my TikTok and my Instagram at I am Jada Christine. If you are interested, please do not feel pressured, okay? But if you're interested in donating to my new journey, because I do need help, I have to make this clear. I am not built by myself. I am not a self-made woman. I don't believe in being self-made. I believe that we need people. And I would not be here if my mom didn't give me my first client. Even though she gave me some, even though she raised some hell about me coming out here, I wouldn't be here if she didn't give me my first client, if she didn't help me make my car payments on time when I could not afford it. I would not be here if my dad didn't help me, if my dad didn't co-sign for me for this apartment, because I had to file for bankruptcy. I'm still paying for everything, but he had to co-sign. I would not be here if I didn't have my sisters praying for me, if I didn't have my sister Kiera, who helped me when my bank account charged me last minute before I went to go pay my first month's rent. My bank account charged me last minute. She sent me the money and I sent it back to her a few days later. I would not be here without the help of man. I do not believe in being self-made. I believe that we are called to be unified as a body of Christ, and that we need people. We need mentors. We need family. We need sisters and brothers in Christ who are praying for us, lifting us up. I would not be here if my pastor did not partner with me in faith about everything in my life. I would not be here if somebody didn't believe in me, if my ex did not believe in me, if my ex did not pour and speak life into me. I would not be here if I did not get my first few clients, if I did not meet those people who took a chance on me, even though I may not have had all the kinds of experience, even though they trusted a 23-year-old girl with their brands, their babies, and their projects. I would not be here without the help of man. I am nothing without man. I cannot build anything on my own, and I will stand on that. Okay, I don't believe in that self-made crap. And so I'm saying this because I will continue to need help, and I'm going to be building a team soon to walk into that entirely. But also, I believe in being of help to others as well. If you ever hear me ask for donations, I'm not asking because I am a selfish, crazy, greedy preacher. Please, we need to get we need to get grounded in scripture, okay? I believe in giving just as much as I believe, just as much as I talk about it. I tithe, and over this course of this journey, I have donated to people who have gone through the same journeys. When I see a story, I might share something. So I'm only sharing this for those who feel on their heart to give. Please do not feel pressure. But I'm gonna put my apartment registry in the description if you just wanna help me out at all. No pressure, please, no pressure. But I'm gonna put my apartment registry there because I do need some, I'm sitting on my suitcase right now. I don't have chairs yet. I don't have much yet. So if you want to just follow along with me on this journey, feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at I am Jada Christine. Subscribe to this channel. Keep up with me on the journey and my business if you're interested in that. But here you're going to get things, all faith, all lifestyle. You're just going to get me. Not much businessy over here. Maybe a little bit of Jesus everywhere, but not so much ministry, but a lot of faith and lifestyle content and entrepreneurship content. You might get a little bit of everything, but that's all I have for y'all today. It is done in Jesus' name. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a blessed day. Bye.